The playoffs are here. Buckle up because the next few weeks are going to be a lot of fun for high school football in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. We break it down next on Prep Rally.
You're watching the Prep Rally Podcast.
Welcome to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. I'm Graham Thomas with the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. I'm joined in studio with Rick Fires, NWA Democrat-Gazette sports reporter, and Leland Barclay, as always, joins us from the River Valley. Gentlemen, it's football playoff time in Northwest Arkansas, and we're going to take a look at this week's games, but let's take a look at last week's games first. And we got to start off with the big showdown in the River Valley this week, Leland. Greenwood and Little Rock Christian. So you're gonna start us off. No doubt that was the big game in this area.
Absolutely, probably one of the biggest games in the state all season. I know Conway and Bryant was certainly big in Central Arkansas, but Greenwood kind of controlled that game. It was back and forth. There were 7 lead changes in the first half before Greenwood scored twice in the last 30 seconds of the first half to go up 35-24. Then they had a long drive to start the second half to go up, more than 2 scores. And that's, they pretty much maintained that lead throughout and won it 56-39. Kane Archer, another big day with, 7 more touchdowns that he accounted for. And that's 22 now in the last 3 games that he's rushed and passed for. So just a big 9 overall. Grant Carnes returned a kickoff 97 yards for a touchdown. Greenwood's defense intercepted 3 passes and really controlled that game and earned the first round playoff bye, their outright conference championship, and their 9th perfect season in school history.
Leland, in your River Valley Democrat-Gazette story that you sent to us over the weekend, I think you summed it up kind of perfectly. That Greenwood won a game that they always seem to win. When the big game, you can bet on a few things, and that's usually one of them, that they're going to find a way to get a victory in a big game.
Coaches love to say, big time players make big time plays and at big time times. And that's kind of the way it is with teams too. The really good teams seem to play well when they need to and in those big moments. And Greenwood certainly doesn't shy away from big moments and big games. I think they relish those opportunities. And once again on Friday night, they proved it.
No doubt about that. Well, Rick, let's go to the game you were at. Fayetteville improves to 10-0 for the first time since you were a little kid, right?
1957. You know what? This is really a celebration. They were playing a Harbor team that, they just gives up a lot of points. But Harbor hung with them there for the first half. It was almost 28-28 going into halftime, but Harbor got a touchdown call back. And, I'm telling you, walking around a little bit at halftime, there is some people kind of jittery. What's going on? Because they'd already had the fireworks in place. I think they did a little fireworks when they come out. And, obviously afterward, they were going to shoot off some fireworks. But, man, then Fayetteville just dominated the third quarter, 28 consecutive points. My goodness, Drake Lindsay, what a fantastic year he's had. 6'5" kid, committed to University of Minnesota. 7 touchdown passes, 6 different receivers. Setzer, another big game with the ground games. And Fayetteville, man, they look prime. They are ready to go. I don't know. I haven't talked to Casey. I don't know how he feels about, having a week off after playing so well. Maybe they do. But, man, just watch Fayetteville in the postseason play. Just a great finish to a great year for the Purple Dogs.
I'll chime in about the game I saw, which was Bentonville West. So the winner of that game was going to get the number 2 seed another week off. And Bentonville really got off to a great start, scored 28 straight points to open the game, and won 56-28. And I thought the same thing. You just get your quarterback back, you start rolling, because Carter and I did play in the game, and had a big impact on the way their offense clicked.
Did he
I
start?
think
He start?
he started.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he threw a 50. No, I'm sorry,
Oh,
it was a
first play. Yeah.
46-yard pass on the first play. But I asked Coach Jody Grant. I said, "Well, do you guys kind of wish you didn't have the bye and keep rolling?" He goes, "Well, we kind of need that bye just because it gives Carter another chance to just
Yeah.
get another week to kind of
Yep.
get really fully healthy, and some other guys. They've got some other guys banged up too. So that kind of sets up the playoff bracket for us. Fayetteville's the number 1 seed, Bentonville's the 2, West the 3, Rogers is the 4, South Side with a big win is gonna be the 5,
And
and Harbor's
Harvard
the 6.
6. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I do think we need to talk about the Bryant Conway game because I know every one
Yeah.
of us was sort of following along on how that one went. Conway gets out to a big lead, and then here come the Bryant Hornets. They win the ball game quite handily, and that surprised me a little bit. It didn't surprise me that Bryant won, but they really pulled away for a win. And Leland, you and I were talking about this one at media days yesterday in Fort Smith, just about you know did Bryant regain their swagger? And I guess it kind of remains to be
Uh,
seen, but we'll see.
Well, Friday night seems to be an indication that they have. It kind of goes back to, what is that saying? The 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 story of their demise has been greatly exaggerated.
Right?
Because
Yeah.
we thought maybe some of their aura of invincibility had been knocked off a little bit with that non-conference loss to Parkview. But they again, a team that played big in the big moment, and went to Conway and won. If it would have been at Bryant, we might have went, well, but it was at Bryant. But to go on the road in front of, and I haven't heard the official number for what was there, but maybe 8 to 10,000.
Well, I think that
in the
the story.
newspaper, it says 7,580, and that's a great crowd
Okay.
for a high school
John
football.
McConnell Stadium record is what
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
said. So
Yeah, I can see where it was. It was, I guess, maybe the biggest game in Conway history at Conway. So Brian, at this point, they certainly threw their name back in the hat as not that they really needed to. You win 5 straight, but they're certainly primed to win their 6th straight.
by the way, I would love to tell our listeners to tune in to the River Valley Report this week to hear some wild and crazy postseason predictions from the one Leland Barclay about the 7A playoffs. It
Uh-oh.
is uh, just watch it. I don't want to give it away here because I want
Okay.
people to go and
I wanna
watch the
see it,
show.
yeah.
I gave mine too, and there might be some folks that aren't happy about those. And so anyway, all that can be subject to change as we go down the road. But we were put on the spot yesterday with this. So moving right along here, we got a lot to cover this morning, but some more big games. So Shiloh Christian really with a big night over Alma at Airedale Stadium. So
They got the quarterback back, right?
they did. They got
Yeah.
the 9th grader Cole Creighton is back, and he had a good game, and they
Mhm.
won. They were up, what was it, 51-12 at halftime, something like that, and um, you know, uh, so the way that sets up is Farmington and Shiloh Christian tied for the conference championship. I think we need to make that clear. They both have a claim to that conference title. Farmington is the number 1 seed with their victory over Shiloh.
Yeah.
They both went 6-1 in the league, and Shiloh will be the number 2. Um, Farmington had a real battle with Prairie Grove. I was impressed. Prairie Grove really
Yeah.
put up a good fight, and could have won that game. But so Farmington's the number 1, Shiloh will be the number 2, and then another just game to mention, Elkins. My goodness, with their third straight shutout.
Third
And
straight
we're not
shutout.
talking about shutting out the bottom teams in that conference.
No.
We're talking about the number they've shut out the number 2 team. They have shut out the number 4 team and the number 5 team.
Now,
And-
I've subsequently found out that Drew Moore, the Lincoln quarterback, was hurt. I don't think he played at all in that game. But still, yeah, man, we get so caught up in offense and Dizzy Dean completing almost 80% of his passes and Deshaun Chairs. But man, that defense, 3 straight shutouts, that is fantastic.
and Rick, we're going to send you out to Elkins this week.
I'm ready to go.
I mean, you just got to
I'll
go
leave right
and
now.
you might just be on the Elkins beat the rest of the way.
That's fine with me.
Because they've got, we need to talk about this a little bit later, but they have kind of an ideal path. Maybe they could, what was it we said, Leland, yesterday? They could play 4 home playoff games potentially.
I think it's very I think that's very possible. They need an upset on the on one of the other games, but and it wouldn't be that much of an upset. But yes, they could be at home through until they head to War Memorial Stadium if it gets that far.
All right, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we will look at this week's playoff games, starting with the Class 7A. We'll be right back.
Stay on top of all Arkansas Razorback sports with a Digital Plus subscription on the Hogs Illustrated app. Get complete Razorbacks coverage in one location. Your subscription gives you 20-plus issues of Hogs Illustrated magazine, the most unique and compelling coverage anywhere in the state, plus total access to all the content on WholeHogSports.com, including breaking news, commentaries, analysis, features, recruiting, award-winning photos, and premium message boards. Subscriptions start at just $17 per month. Join the Hog Sports Network team at subscribe.waco.com. That's subscribe.wehco.com. Or call 479-684-5509 to get your front row seat to Arkansas Razorback sports. Go Hogs!
Welcome back to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn. Graham Thomas here with Rick Fires and Leland Barclay. And guys, let's dig into this week's playoff schedule starting in Class 7A. So up in Centerton, Fort Smith Northside, who we didn't mention this in the earlier segment, but picked up a big win against Little Rock Southwest on the road at Southwest to clinch that 6th seed for the playoffs. And so Northside will travel to Bentonville West for the open round of the playoffs. The other 7A games, North Little Rock at Rogers. Southside is having to go to Jonesboro and Harbor at Cabot. So to kind of talk about a couple of these, Leland, Northside, that's a nice win for them to get in the playoffs. It's been a tough year for the Grizzlies, but it's something to build on.
Yes, it is. They needed that one badly, obviously, to even make the playoffs. They had to have it. And, one of the nice things as far as us that get to write about this is in the 7A and 6A with the top 2 seeds getting, buys to the second round. That gives us an opportunity for some very good first-round games because the 4s play the 5s and the 3s play the 6s. And last year, for example, in 6A, the West won all 4 of those games.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yes. And so it just creates some very good games instead of getting that 1 versus a 6 or 2 versus a 5 and a mercy rule game. And so I think all 4 of these first round games in 7A especially are very interesting because I think Northside's going to go up to West and give the Wolverines a very good game. And then, of course, Southside goes to Jonesboro. Tough trip. They're leaving at 10:30 Friday morning. They're going to do a walkthrough at Harding University in Searcy.
Didn't they
kind of
just get
break
through
the
playing?
trip up?
Northside.
So,
Northside
all
went to
4 of these
Jonesboro.
games are, I think, great first-round games in 7A.
Yeah, I think so, too. North Little Rock at Rogers, I was on the phone with Chad Harbison Monday night, and he's kind of looking at these North Little Rock guys like, man, they've got some dudes.
They've always got athletes.
They've got one defensive end that's about 6'6". I mean, so they're going to have their work cut out for them. And we talked about Southside, and don't sleep on Harbor, like Rick, like you said, they gave Fayetteville all they wanted for a half there.
For a half, you know what? I don't want to be Mr. Negative, but man, I'll just never ever get used to a team that wins 2 games, gives up 50 points a game, and being in the playoffs. That's just me. I'm old school. Probably, people don't care about what I think from 1980s and 70s, but to me, the playoffs should be a reward for doing something well during the regular season.
You come from that era where you have one football to use the whole season and
one helmet,
and leather helmets.
Yeah, leather helmet, and
right.
one little thing to put in your mouth, and if it gets dirty, you jerk it back in your mouth and keep playing.
The Class 6A game we're interested in up here in Northwest Arkansas in the River Valley. Van Buren's going to have to go all the way to West Memphis to take on the Blue Devils over there, and um, that's going to be a tough road for Van Buren. In Class 5A, we've got several games over here. Camden Fairview is at Farmington. That one I think is going to be a real brawl. Hot Springs
Yeah.
at Shiloh Christian. That's a good game. Harrison going to Lakeside. I'd love to be at that one. Then Leland, you're going to go watch Alma play at Parkview on Thursday night at War Memorial Stadium.
Well, it might be a very soggy War Memorial Stadium, but we'll see what kind of
They do have turf there now, so that's good.
Yeah, like Rick said, the playoffs should be a reward for a job well done during the season. And Alma's reward is to get to go to War Memorial Stadium to play the consensus number one team in 5A, Little Rock Parkview.
Man, and I know that Alma will. It would tickle me to death to see Alma go in there and really give those guys a fight, if not win the game. So we'll just see what happens. In Class 4A, some battles here. So we already talked about
that's what
it.
I love 4A right there.
So
Man, everybody got to play.
Clinton, they've got themselves a heck of a running back.
Yeah.
They're going to Elkins, and so we'll just see what happens there.
Yeah,
Rick.
I was talking to Zach Watson, and sometimes you get coach speak, but I believe everything he says. And man, we can't be looking ahead like we do in the paper and fans do. He said, man, we got to take care of business right off the bat because they're 7-3. That I can't remember the kid's name right now, but they got a great running back, great running game, and Elkin's going to be pressed probably.
You've seen the Clinton kid play, haven't you, Leland?
I have not seen him play. I did watch him on film. Zane Widener, he's a wing back in their wing T formation, and he had a game. I guess it was about 3 weeks ago. He rushed for 391 yards and 6 touchdowns. And just the fact that they have that wing T, it's going to give, I think, Elkins defense some fits. And when you look at Clinton, I know you look at it and you say, well, they're the 5th seed, the last seed to get in from that 4A4.
That's no ordinary.
But there were 5 teams that were fighting for a conference championship in that final 9 of the regular season. So that 5th seed beside their name is a little misleading.
Yeah, and then they beat Central Arkansas Christian too, one of their better wins. So
that's the top seed.
Yes, they beat top seed.
So and that gives us a perfect segue talking about that 4A4. We were wondering how it was going to shape up, and so Lamar gets the 4 seed. They're going to Ozark. Leland's going to Ozark. It just makes a great for a great setup there.
Yeah, and again, going back to Rick and reward for the regular season and playing well, and Ozark earned that number 2 seed, and now they're playing a 4th seed that was again in that 4A4 that was vying and playing for a conference championship in the 10th week of the season. So again, a misleading seed there, and it'll be interesting to see how that 4A4, because it was a battle all season, how those teams fare on the road this first week.
Good, folks that are listening, go look at the capsule page in the Democrat-Gazette on Thursday. Check out the score Leland picks for this one. I mean, it's good. If it turns out that way, he'll have himself a fun night on Friday at Ozark. Stuttgart is at Gravette. Gravette's hosting a playoff game for the 2nd straight year. That's great for the Lions and Coach Bohannon. Lincoln and Gentry are both on the road. Lincoln's at Heber Springs. Gentry has to go to Harding Academy. Tough assignments for those guys. All right, Class 3A. We've got some interesting matchups here. We've got Drew Central at Booneville, Barton at Charleston, Centerpoint at Mansfield, Hackett at Bismarck, and Lavaca at Glen Rose. Kind of some of the focus for us has been on the Booneville and Charleston, and Booneville and Charleston both can be playing at home, and Mansfield will be playing at home as well. But I tell you, we talked about with Booneville Dax Golf, man, it's playoff time, and I think a lot of us are picking the Bearcats to get back to Little Rock for the state championship game. So here's round 1.
Yeah, we'll see if the 3A1 can win their second state title in a row. It's going to be a hard road for either one of them to get back there. They're both, if they win their first round games, and again, that's that 1 versus 5 and a 2 versus 4. But they're only assured of one more home playoff game in the playoffs. They both, if they continue to win, likely will be hitting the road on Thanksgiving Friday.
Man.
And this is important why team wants to win conference championship and get the playoff, the seeds and start at home. Just think about the trip Barton's got to make all the way over to Charleston. Barton, I've been to Barton.
I have not been to Barton.
I've been to Barton when I was covering basketball at Mississippi County Community College and went down there for a signing. It's just like a 4-way stop in the middle of nowhere. It's over there towards Helena, and they've got to get on the bus and make that trip all the way to Charleston. That is such a huge advantage that you get to dress in your own dressing room, leave the house after you eat lunch or something, then go to the football field instead of having to get on a bus and go 5-6 hours.
No doubt.
And Rick, you're right. It's a 4-way stop in Lexa, Arkansas.
Yeah, I've been. I said, what? What? Is this it? This is Barton? Yep.
I thought the same thing. I went over there and actually covered a Charleston at Barton playoff game, and I kind of thought the same thing. It's a 4-way stop. You take a right, and there's Lexa, Arkansas, and Frank McClellan Stadium.
Yeah, and for the young people, Barton for years and years was a small school power in Arkansas. Not so much now, but for many years, weren't they, Leland?
Oh, absolutely. They were the small school power.
Well, and we will have coverage of both the Boonville and Charleston games in the Saturday Democrat or Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
I think, didn't you mention that we were covering 8 games on Friday night?
We have 8 games for the second time this year. We covered 8 games in week 1. And just kind of freeing up some guys to be able to help us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that means Rick doesn't get to write his column this week, but
that's fine.
We'll get back there. So the last game I want to talk about is just Class 2A. Johnson County Westside with a huge win over Mountainburg. Had to rally to do it in week 10, but gets the Rebels into the playoffs, and they go to Murfreesboro, the number 1 seed. So congrats to them for winning, and here's your, like you said, Leland, here's your reward for getting in the playoffs. You got to go to Murfreesboro.
You know what? Even if they don't win, they can go by, maybe find a diamond over there.
Oh, man, yeah. The Crater of Diamonds.
Yeah.
We did that this summer.
Did you find something?
A lot of dirt.
Okay.
A lot of dirt. But my wife and kids had fun, and that's all that matters. So, so that's the slate of games, and of course, this is just the games involving Northwest Arkansas and River Valley teams, folks. I mean, there's going to be playoff games all over the state.
You're going to see them yellow buses. If you're out on Friday, you're out on the highway somewhere, you're going to see yellow buses crisscrossing the whole state on Friday.
It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
So, all right, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we will do our top 5 of the week.
If you're enjoying this podcast, consider a newspaper subscription to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette or the River Valley Democrat-Gazette. We have a special offer for our podcast listeners, so visit nwaonline.com/podcast23 to get started. You can also click the subscribe button on our websites, nwaonline.com and rivervalleydemocratgazette.com, or call us at 479-684-5509 and be sure to say that you're a podcast listener. Now back to the show.
All right, welcome back to the Prep Rally Podcast, sponsored by West Termite Pest and Lawn, Graham Thomas, Rick Fires, Leland Barclay. And guys, it's time to get into the top 5, and we'll just let Rick Fires start it. He's all ready to go.
See, I'm prepared today.
Man, top 5 of the week. Let's get on it.
Yeah, I had that Spam for a breakfast and give me some energy. I'm ready to go. You know what? I got to start. This is signing week, Wednesday, the signing period. And Reagan Harp, she was the MVP of the volleyball state tournament. She's played on 4 state championship teams. She's signing with the UCA. A lot of props to the Fayetteville volleyball program on Jessica Phelan, and she's staying in state. I love that. I got to go back to the game I covered last Friday. Drake Lindsay, again, just 25, 28, 337 yards, 7 touchdown passes, 56, 28 over Harbor, 6 different receivers. He set some record, tied some record. Leland knows about all these records. I can't think of right off the top of my head. The Bentonville one, Bentonville West. They still can't. They're a great team, but they can't beat the old Bentonville Tigers yet. Quarterback Carter Nye came back from injury, got him off to a good start. 22-25, 340, 3 touchdowns. We talked a little bit about Bryant. Bryant 52-33 in front of over Conway, 7,500 at John McConnell Stadium in Conway. Again, I think I even asked a question at the start of the year. I said, "Is Bryant vulnerable? They lost their head coach. You let them to 4 straight." No, they're not. They're still the team to beat, and they let everybody know it last week. Great job by Quad Sanders, the former Bryant defensive coordinator, who's going to be head coach at Jonesboro. Comes back to Bryant, and they're just rolling. They're the favorites, but it's still wide open in that league. And I think that's all I got.
All right. So Leland, I'll kick it over to you.
Both Northside and Southside had to go on the road to secure playoff berths on Friday night. Southside won a hard-fought 49-42 win at Springdale, rushed for 388 yards, and all 7 of their touchdowns were on the ground. Isaac Gregory, 182 yards and 3 touchdowns. Amari Tucker, 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carter Zimmerman, 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, I joked with Coach Dameron this morning that it looked like that game was going to be the first one to 400 yards rushing was going to win, because Springdale ended up with 429 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. So this was kind of one of those old school grinded out games that Rick Fires would have loved.
Yeah.
99 rushing attempts in the game, 59 by Springdale, 40 by Southside. So, just a great ground game there. And of course, Northside went to Little Rock Southwest and won 34-20. McLean Moody, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns passing. Isaac Wright had 145 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. That was their first 100-yard rusher this season. And then Van Buren, Bryce Perkins, 25 of 29 for 398 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Trenton Cooley caught 11 passes for 237 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
And Bryce Perkins started off the game 9 for 9 for 142 yards. They were up 22-7 in the first quarter and won 50-13 over Siloam. And of course, like we talked about, the reward now is going to West Memphis on Friday, and they too are leaving at 10:30. They're going to do a walkthrough at UCA, and they're going to play a very, very good West Memphis team. In fact, I was kind of joking with Coach Mo Henry about who was going to block the defensive end for West Memphis. Marquez Parker is 6'4", 260 pounds, and one of the best defensive ends in the state. So we'll see if they block him very effectively on Friday night.
Say about 4 of them going to have to block him?
It might be. I think they're going to put the center right on the right side, and then the other 4 guys on his side. And then Reese Mariska on Friday night in Charleston's 55-21 win over Lavaca scored 7 touchdowns.
Wow.
He rushed for 5 and caught 2 touchdown passes, and he has just been tremendous since his return from injury. And then finally, Carol Werner, the cross-country runner for Greenwood, finished 3rd in the Class 5A state cross-country meet and helped Greenwood to win their 2nd straight state title in cross-country.
That's really nice job for Greenwood. And give a shout-out to Henry Apple. He did a good job of covering the state cross-country meet. That's just I saw Carol race at Siloam twice this year for the 5A West meet was the most recent one, and there were a lot of other Greenwood girls that were really good too. All right, so my top 5. I'm going back to Elkins, third straight shutout over three good offensive football teams. They're
Yeah.
10-0. It's been a special season, and they're not done yet. So
No.
we're excited for the Elkins Elks, Coach Zach Watson, all the good players they've got. Farmington, I just kind of thought they would roll all over Prairie Grove to clinch that number one seed. Prairie Grove put up a great fight, and Farmington had to rally and win it. And sure enough, they did win it, and they got the number one seed in the 5A West. And that team has been through some adversity this year, and
Yes.
they have really fought through it and gotten some really nice achievements. Real happy for Coach J.R. Eldridge and those guys. I don't know how you feel about this, Rick. I just kind of feel like they're a force coming in 5A. Like they're growing as a
Yeah.
school. They got great facilities, and the
You know
best is
what?
yet to
I
come.
kind of wrote them off a little bit after Cameron
Right.
Van Zant went down with injury. They've regrouped, and that's what good coaching, what good players do.
Right. Number 3 for me, Gabe Holmes at Gravett accounted for 6 touchdowns in a 58-35 win over rival Gentry at Gentry, I might add. And that got the Lions a home game for the state playoffs. And Gabe is now the quarterback for the Lions, but he was not the quarterback. Well, he and Cameron Bedwell were the quarterbacks, and Bedwell got hurt, and so he's had to do all the quarterbacking duties. And
Doing it well.
yeah, and did a nice job in that win against Gentry. He had like 150 yards passing and 130 rushing. Big night for him. I'm gonna throw Johnson County West Side. I was afraid this might overlap with you, Leland, but that was a nice win for those guys to beat Mountainburg. Kyle Hahn, I think it is, or Juan. Juan, okay. Kyle Juan had the go ahead touchdown, and then he had the interception to seal it for the Rebels. So, I know we don't get over to Johnson County West Side just a whole lot, but it was nice to see them with a big win to get into the Class 2A playoffs. And number 5, man, it's signing day. Today's Wednesday. It's signing day. I've already been to Harbor this morning to see the pitcher over at Harbor sign with the Razorbacks. Rick, you're going, yeah. You're going to Fayetteville later. Leland's got some signings to go to. I'm going to Farmington later to see some signings. There's signings going all over the state, and this is just kind of round one. I think they'll have another signing day in December, and then maybe another one in February.
That's most primary for football. The other two, yeah.
So
but this is for all sports. Just one.
And
today,
so it's an exciting day. Our papers are going to be full of signing day coverage from all over the state. So, and this is a bonus. I do want to give another shout out to the cross country. So Rogers girls with the upset on the team title. Bentonville had the top 2 finishers, I believe. But we get those displacers in the cross country deal. And anything can happen. So Coach Eford and the Lady Mounties with the big win, and Bentonville boys was 7 straight cross country championships. Is that what I read? That's just amazing to me.
you win so they win so much, you just kind of take them for granted. But my man, what a great job they do up there in Bentonville in all sports. And congratulations to the Rogers team. This is really a good area for cross country. Beautiful mountains, so good for them.
Yes, very much. So, well, folks, that's going to wrap up this week for Prep Rally. And you can listen to Prep Rally at nwaonline.com or watch it on YouTube. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again to our sponsor, West Termite Pest and Lawn. We're heading to the playoffs, boys.
Let's go.
All right. Well, we will see you next week. We love you.